Hello and welcome back to Yeah the Girls. I'm joined as always with my co-host Georgie Rankin and Claudia Gunjaka. How you going, girls?
Feeling good. Came off a good win on the weekend in the sunny Gold Coast.
And the sunshine, so I'm warmed up from the inside out.
Oh, it's the best. But we've got an exciting show ahead today. We'll recap our first win of the season, which is amazing, up in the Gold Coast with our debutant Thorny. And we've also got a great guest on today as well, media personality Kate McCarthy, who will just be a gem to have on and have a listen to all her
Can't wait.
Pathways into media and what she's gotten up to. So super excited to have her on. And then we'll preview a little bit of our condensed period, which is going to be crazy. Playing tomorrow night against the Hawks, into Freo on the Tuesday with the men's grand final in between. So lots to chat about. So stay tuned for that. But let's get started with our sweet and sours of the week, girls. I'll kick us off with my sweet. Obviously up in the Gold Coast on the weekend, and one of my childhood best friends, Gemma, lives up in Brisbane, so she met me in the Gold Coast and I just had this nicest time with her. So that was my sweet of the week. It's you know those friends that you don't see for months and months and months, but it feels like you saw them yesterday.
Yep. Yeah.
She's one of those people, and you know you could just be your full self round. So that was nice catching up with her.
Love.
Which was lovely. And then I don't really have much of a sour this week, but I would say the only real rogue thing for me is with the way that the condensed period has gone, I've been a bit thrown out with my shower, tan, wash of hair routine.
I get ya, girl. I get ya.
So I've had to tan last night with half a tan on.
That's gold.
And I haven't been able to wash my hair. I'm just going to have to go dirty hair this week, which...
Really? Because this is looking...
it looks fresh.
Oh, it's
great.
really
fresh.
not that fresh.
Okay.
But anyways, so that is my sour of the week, being thrown out with my routine.
That's a good sour. You've had a great week, Becky. A great week.
How about you girls? What are your sweet and sours of the week?
Well, I think my sweet this week was being up in the Gold Coast, and my family also came up, and my boyfriend Tom and his mum as well. And so I got to stay the extra night as well, and had a really lovely morning just being in the sun, which is
Oh my
we've
God,
just
isn't it
missed
the best?
so much here. And then some beach recovery, a little swim, little walk, and a nice coffee as well before heading home. And I saw G Rankin on the same flight, which was
I
nice.
know. Worked out really
Couple
well.
of days up in the Goldie Girls.
Yeah, so that was definitely my sweet this week. And then my sour, it's not a huge sour, but the outcome was a sour, but is just watching the men's game, how stressed I got watching that game. And sometimes do you ever think, and you're like, why do I care so much about something that
You
it
can't
fulfills me
control.
with this stress? And you're like, why do I put this on myself? But anyway, unfortunately, the boys obviously had a loss on the weekend, which was sad. But it was an amazing game, and
Such a great
I was
game.
super stressed the whole game, but it was just such a good game to watch. And I think as a spectator for someone that doesn't go for either teams, it would have been an amazing
amazing
prelim. So,
game,
that was my sour this week.
That's a great sour. Good shout. My sweet and sours, we all started with sweet this time, actually.
No.
This is-
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a
do we
first.
always start with sour?
We
don't
usually
Yeah.
start
Positive.
sour.
Positive today.
Positive this week. Not much of sours going around.
I will keep them quick, but I do have two sweets because obviously going home, all the family was there. Even I had about, I'm going to get the maths wrong, maybe seven cousins from one family and my auntie, and then two that came from Brizzy as well, my direct family and their partners and sister.
I saw
and
the crowd sounded like Geelong.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
It
you
was
could
all-
actually
it was all
hear
your-
them.
yeah.
And it was just G Rankin's family.
100%. Literally. So my sister made her way there. She's 13 hours away from the Gold Coast with my
That
little
is
niece
amazing.
Daisy.
Oh,
So
she's beautiful.
seeing them, they had posters, and even at the end, me and Jess had spoken early in the year about how special it would be to be able to grab Days over the fence, and she's got little number 10 on her back. So that would 100%. And obviously they've been huge supporters of me over the last couple of weeks as well, been riding the highs and the very much the lows. So I just felt really, really supported, and my heart was just full. But then I would also have to put in there the feeling after kicking that goal was just really I think I've skipped the goal and just watched back the swarm from my teammates, which again is just, I've never felt more loved and just really believed in and valued. And that moment was just super special. I could have actually teared up because yeah, I just felt so much love and afterwards the way that everyone got around me. So I would have to say that was a
so
huge,
sweet.
huge highlight. And then there's some really cute pics as well, which
Oh,
I loved.
I definitely would have got around you, G, but I would have cramped trying to get there. So
But I've watched
I ran
behind
down,
the
I
goals.
ran down.
I actually watched behind the goals and both Shan and Gunja there with their arms up. So even
I was
that
elated.
was just, you ran from so
Yeah,
far.
I
Becky.
ran.
Yeah,
I was like, I
so
got to tell
far.
her that I said, I'm feeling a goal from you today.
that was awesome, G. We loved seeing it.
Yeah, so I'll just throw in my sour, obviously leaving the Gold Coast. So
Yeah.
that would
Yeah,
be
fair.
about it. It's been nice couple of days.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
Good.
love. All right, we'll get into the game then, and we'll get Thorny on to talk about how she felt coming into the game, playing her first one in the hoops, and as well being up where she's from as well.
Yes.
So how amazing. Come join us.
And first win in the hoops too.
Oh.
So very good.
Love it.
Love it.
All right, we've got Thorny on ready to talk all things footy. Now make sure, Thorny, you do jump in because we're very good at just rambling on.
Blabbering.
And because you are, obviously we want to hear about the debut, but you're also part of the review, so we'd love to see things from your perspective. But I really want to start with the fact that obviously last week in the team meeting, had not realised prior to, you were not aware until it popped up on the screen, and the raw emotion that came through. Tell us about your initial thoughts, and for the listeners, they obviously weren't there, so give them an insight in how that played out.
I was just really not expecting it at all. I talked to Dan throughout the week and he was like, yeah, just, keep going. And I was like, oh, great. And obviously Bella and I are going through it together. So we were like, we do chat about it a bit and we're like, oh, bugger, it'd be so great to go to Gold Coast this week.
Yeah.
And Mum and Dad were already going to the game just to support. So I was like,
Oh,
oh my
bless.
God, stop it. And I haven't been home in a while. So it was nice. Yeah.
So the tears started
Oh, yeah.
flowing.
I had a bit of a cry.
Yeah.
Dan said, let it out, Thorny. And I was
Yeah.
like, I will.
No, it really was so beautiful to see that, and I think as well, obviously in the corridor a little bit later, like that moment between you and Bella is obviously hard when you're so close, but
Yeah.
the support there between you was actually really special for
she's
your
great.
for your
She is
relationship.
beautiful. Yeah. No,
And
definitely.
then to mention Spud's little
Yes.
what do you call that? Presenting you
Jumper
your
presentation.
jumper
Yeah.
before the game, and oh my God, I know Spud can speak.
Oh, it's the best she's ever
No, she
spoken.
spoke great.
I
Hit
was
the
like,
mark.
do you want to speak at my wedding? Like,
She'll be MC for sure.
she was unreal. So how did you feel getting your jumper presented on the day? How were the nerves? Were you feeling kind of calm being like back in the Gold Coast
Yeah.
playing, or like, how did you feel?
I was honestly, for my first game, I was so chill. I don't know
I
what come
love
over me.
this.
So not me.
great.
So out of character. But I think I was just so calm, collected, and just chill.
In
I
your
don't know
zone,
what-
babe.
Yeah, I was in my zone. But no, yeah.
Can you touch on? Sorry, Gunj, I'm just cutting you off here.
Fine.
You were just
I
about to
won't
have
get a
your
word in
moment.
at all.
Give me the speaker.
No, just would love for you to I think obviously they did the little snippet of Spud's speech around that one conversation you had in Queensland,
Yeah.
but would love for you to share a bit of what that was, because when I heard it for the first time, I just thought, that's epic.
Yeah, so I was just down at Coolangatta Oval, and that's kind of near where Spud lives, just with a friend kicking the footy one random preseason day, and Spud rocked up and she was just like so brutal. I hadn't spoke to her in God knows how long. Like we weren't very close back home. And she was just like, what are you doing this year? Like, what's the shot? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like I might move for footy. I didn't know if I was going to go sandful or what the shot was. And she was like,
Oh, okay. Sorry, the
Practicing the siren.
siren is on.
literally.
Oh,
Oh my God.
I hope everyone can hear that.
Wow. And she was in Spud fashion. She was just like, nah, mate, gotta go. Nothing for you here. And I was like, oh, so true.
Spud.
Yeah, bless her. And I guess it was a good time. I wasn't at uni. I was just working at a cafe playing in the quaffle for Bond Uni. So it was great timing. And then I think she called Sal Riley and they set up a few things. And then out of the blue, Box Hill called me as well at the same day.
Wow,
So we were just
meant to
literally
be.
within 2 weeks, I think.
That's
Everyone was a bit
amazing.
shocked.
Amazing.
Sorry,
Love that.
you can jump in now, Gunj.
Well, I've lost my train of thought now. No, I'm kidding. So, well, let's talk a little bit about the game, hey? So, obviously, we had a fantastic win. It was really nice, free-flowing football, I thought. And, as we said in the review, all the lines felt really connected. We could, play our fun attacking way that we wanted to play in really nice dry conditions as well. Took the game on a fair bit as well. Becky Webster taking bounce after bounce. I loved seeing it.
Thorny also, you threw a bounce.
Yeah.
Thorny. The first game I was like, this is huge.
Yeah.
For me.
But I think one of my favourite stats was that we all had a score involvement.
Yeah.
Every single one of us.
2. Everyone had 2.
Oh, everyone had 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, that was everyone had 2.
Yeah, so a great win, and finally really nice to get one on the board and a little bit of reward, I think, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like coming off the back of last week against Carlton, where our contested football wasn't up to standard, the way we sort of just came in hunting the footy straight away around the contest was at our absolute best, and that really gets our run and carry game going on the outside. I know as like a high defender, you can really trust the inside to out, and you can run your patterns a lot better, which helps. And I think, you can't underestimate a clean, dry day, a hot, dry day. I was definitely sweating. But no, it was really good to sort of play our brand of football and get reward on the scoreboard for it, because I felt like definitely the first couple of games against some really quality opposition, we played a really good brand of football, but to sort of have that scoreboard, pressure on it really helps, the rest of the team and the way you want to play the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've obviously touched on there with the way we got the ball from inside to out, and I think it would be wrong of us not to go past the sacrificial role that AMAC played
100%.
this week. She got our Geelong way off the back of having 2 players pretty much at her. She had someone literally hot on her tail, would not leave her side, and she just really took that and knew that, do you know what, this is my week of the tag, but it means that between Das, Nina, Thorny, when they were out there, they then were able to expose them in other ways. And I just think the level-headedness of AMAC, I know she said, there were moments. And I'm like, but in the big scheme of things, you could not see it. She just really took it on board.
Yep.
And then obviously started getting the support by her other midfielders. I know, Thorny, there was one stage you in there where I could hear even Neen yelling out, yeah, Thorny, because you were really really knocking, giving them blocks and making sure they felt the heat, because, we don't leave any one of our teammates out on their own. How did you find it in there with that sort of happening in front of you?
Yeah, it was definitely, obviously I hadn't experienced that before. It was very crazy. Even just the constant movement around the circle before the ball had even got thrown up, we were just like, here.
Yeah.
And you could even hear the stress from them as well, which was like, okay, we got to stay level-headed then. But Nina was even AMAC, she was so good at, they were like, Thorny, just move around a bit. And I was like, yep, great, sure.
Love it.
Perfect. And I know we spoke about this being our first win, and there was a bit on the line with this game, I thought, but none of us, and I felt the vibe around our team, no one was stressed, no one was anxious about it, no one was worried about the outcome. It was all about how we're going to play, how we're going to recover from the week before, and I think we all did that so well, so level-headed, and hence why we got the result that we did as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great to see the likes of, Bowie. I feel like she
had a
already,
game.
we have been harping on about her, all pre-season, but it was really that game where you go, she's here and watch out because she's on your tail. Then she hits the scoreboard as well. I just thought that was really, really unreal for her to get that reward.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, it was great to be back on the Gold Coast playing some really great football leading into our condensed period, which is going to be absolutely crazy. But before we get into all of that, let's do a Which Cat Is That with Thorny before we get into our guest, Kate McCarthy.
Always my favourite time. Which cat is that? So, Thorny, we're going to play Which Cat Is That. I'm sure you've heard it before on the potty if you're a listener.
You're really going to have to get that in the middle, though, because if Thorny's wanting to buzz in, you're going to need to
I'll let her have it.
You let her jump in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically how it works is I have one of our cats in mind, and I'll run through a series of clues. You can buzz in at any point, but once you buzz in, if you get it wrong, you're out, and then the other girls can have a shot. But anyone can have a shot at any time. But we need your buzzers, ladies. So I might start with G Rankin first.
Can we start at the other end? Because I want to maybe come up with something a bit different.
All right, Thorny, you got a buzzer?
I don't, but what are we thinking? Like names or like
Or anything.
me?
Okay, great. Thorny is me.
I'm going to go with...
Yeah, nice. I've been wanting someone to do that. I'm going to go with...
I should put in more effort.
I'm going to go with from training last night. Bang, chicka, wow, wow.
I love that. Is that from Chipmunks?
I don't know. Becky and Feathers were literally just having a party between the two of them last night at
so
training.
cute.
So
Awesome.
anyway.
All right. Well,
I'm due for a point here. I
yeah,
reckon.
because currently the scoreboard is G's on 3, so we need to knock her off.
3 already.
Yeah. We need to knock her off a pedestal, I think. Becky's on 1, and then the guests are on 1. So Thorny,
I'm getting the head
help us
wobbles.
guests
That's
out
what's
here,
happening.
please. Yeah. So we'll start off. Clue number 1. This cat has at least 1 tattoo. Number 2. This cat has 3 siblings. No one's game yet. Number 3. This cat did gymnastics growing up.
Oh, my God. I don't know this.
Oh, Thorny.
Do you only get one guess?
You only
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
one
you've
guess.
already
you buzzed
buzzed in,
in.
so you got to
Buzzed.
say it.
You've got to say it.
Das.
No, it's not dust.
Oh, that's a pretty good guess, though. She had
Yeah, it's
She
actually,
did. She does dance.
she-
Close.
I don't think she has 3 siblings. No. All right, number 4.
Who the hell did you
This
guess
cat has always worked another job.
Oh, have we not all?
No, like currently, like
I think I
could
know.
still be working it.
Okay.
Number 5. This cat has a strong interest in coaching. Oh, you gonna go?
I
Go
really,
one.
I suck at this.
How many are we up to?
We're at that's 5.
Wait.
Go one more.
Okay, this one might give it away. Number 6. This cat has curly hair.
Bum chicka wow wow.
Oh, true.
Is this Prez?
Yes, it's
Oh.
Prez.
I was going to go on the last one. That's why when you said this will give it away, I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to go regardless
Yeah,
now.
good job. Well, yeah.
Gymnastics. I can't remember
Yeah.
this from Prezi.
Yeah, when she told me that, I was
Definitely.
actually a bit surprised.
I
but-
feel like I've heard her say that before.
yeah, so obviously we always laugh at some of the jobs she's had.
She has
Obviously,
always had, her first season, she had about 4 jobs.
4 jobs.
Yeah, that's
and
so
the
true.
pizza delivery one was my favourite.
Yeah. She also did a side hustle. She sold things out of her car.
Yeah,
Not
that
out,
too.
but like she
That sounds so dodgy.
clothes. She had clothes and shoes, and it would just be like you jump in her car, and I'm like, "Why is your boot full?" And she goes, "I've got some drop offs."
That's so funny. And then the last 2 questions were this cat lives with another teammate, obviously with AMAC. And then last one, this cat has won our best and fairest.
Maybe
last
should have left
year.
curly hair
very
a bit
good.
later.
I know, but I was,
Then
you
again,
know,
I could have got it at 5. So
we're on a time
Good
schedule.
job.
Guys.
we are.
Well,
Sam.
thanks for joining us, Thorny, for our review of the game on the weekend and your insight into how it feels to be a debutante leading into that game. So that's so special. And well done, G, again, for winning another point. I think you need to start sharing them. Anyways, we will be back and joined with Kate McCarthy, so stay tuned for that. Can't wait to hear a bit of an insight from her.
Well, we are really excited for our next guest on the podcast today. A huge media personality, our commentator on Triple M. You'll see her on 7AFL and on plenty of podcasts as well. But a former AFLW player, Kate McCarthy. We are super excited to have you today on our podcast. How are you going?
Thank you guys very much for having me. Very much a AFLW Geelong fan at the moment. I love what you
We
guys
love
are
that.
doing.
Love that.
Absolutely. Obviously, my heart still lies with the Lions deep down, but I love what you guys are doing in the AFLW world and just the way that you're sort of playing your football. I find it very, very exciting, and it's a pleasure to watch you girls go about your footy.
Oh, well, we appreciate that very much.
Hopefully we get in your top ranking teams this week.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
Well, you know, you're going the right way. Big game tomorrow night, and you know, I think you should slide into that 5th power ranking spot. It's all yours up to
Would
grab.
be nice. Well, obviously a huge week for you, Kate. So it's grand final week in the men's comp, and you're doing a lot in that space as well. But also you had the Brownlow on Monday night as well, which you looked lovely, by the way. Talk to us about your commitments this week and what you've got going on.
Yeah, it's been a very big year in general. It seems that sort of build towards all of these things for a long time in your career, and I think you have that moment where you're like, oh wow, like things are falling into place for me, and that sort of feels like what the last 12 months has been, and probably can be quite well represented by the week of last year's grand final compared to the week of this year's grand final. So last year, I think I had an AFLW game sort of in the lead up. I think I did the game at Punt Road, which was a Richmond game, which they had prior to the men's game at the G, and big Lions fan. So did that game and then headed across to the G to watch. Unfortunately, the Lions go down.
I was going to say that was when they won, didn't they? The Richmond girls won that game.
They did. And then went to this year, which has just been a whirlwind. So, yep, had the Brownlow on Monday, did Talking W before the Brownlow. So it's all glitz and glam in this. I was getting ready for the Brownlow in the SEN toilets. So that was wonderful.
Was that your first Brownlow, Kate?
It was, yep.
Oh
so I had that beautiful experience. Drove myself there, just parked underneath and got out.
So no Crown champagne on arrival.
How was the red carpet?
It was actually really interesting. I found that to be probably the highlight of the night. I wasn't really watching the red carpet. I just sort of snuck in. I was too anxious to walk down the red carpet myself. So kind of snuck in the back way and then was watching everyone arrive. And it was just to see how many people had just put in so much effort. It's obviously a big night for the partners of the players and the players themselves as well, put in a lot of effort and just everyone looked beautiful. It was great to see. And ended up having to walk back down the red carpet because my good friend Daisy Thomas was hosting the red carpet and he was heading home after. And I wanted to make sure I saw him and get a photo with him. So by trying to avoid the red carpet, I then had to walk back down the other way. And everyone was probably like, why is this chick leaving already? Like, who is she and why is she leaving? But then found Daisy, got a nice photo with him and Abby as well, who were hosting. So yeah, it was really lovely. And then got to head inside. It was just fun to experience the Brownlow. It's pretty much everything that you expect. I think there's a lot going on. It's a long night, but I was just really felt privileged to be able to be there and sit on the Channel 7 table and do some elite people watching. And then yesterday was my first sort of day off. I had something in the morning, which I can't recall now because it's all just blurred into one. And then was able to actually have some time off yesterday. And then, today had footy talk before this, doing this now. I've got a podcast after this live from the G, which would be lovely. And then heading to Icon Park to do the women's game after that. And then tomorrow, a couple of lunches. I've got a CommBank lunch. And then tomorrow night, I feel like I have something on, which I can't recall right now. And then Friday will just be chockers. I've got another lunch in sort of the middle of the day. And then we're filming our last episode of Armchair Experts for the grand final edition.
Awesome.
And Saturday morning will be sunrise, followed by I'm on the official grand final panel this year for the pre-fans.
That's so exciting.
On Channel 7. So have no idea how they ended up deciding that I would be good at that, but I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Wow.
Really excited. And then my sister's flying down again to hopefully right the wrongs of last year, and we will watch that game and then hopefully go to the after party and celebrate with all the Lions boys after.
Oh my
goodness.
Do you know what?
Had some sleep in there probably.
Yeah.
Well, I've then got to fly on Sunday. I fly to Brisbane in the morning to do the Brisbane and Crows game in Brisbane.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Do you know what? I'm so appreciative that you've made some time to come onto our show.
Yeah,
this was the priority of the week, to be honest. So I wasn't missing this
way
one.
better than the grand final. Way better.
Thanks, Kate.
Right.
You've obviously got a jam-packed week, and I feel like, as you said, from last year to this year, you've just taken leaps and bounds in your career, and it's amazing to see. But how the hell do you manage all of that? Are you very calendar-focused? How do you sort of keep everything in check and make sure you're on time for everything and prep for everything as well?
Yeah, it's been this year has been a massive struggle. I think for the entire calendar year up until probably late August, I was working a job for the YJFL, a junior footy league up here in Melbourne. And I was the female football coordinator for them. So I was doing all the fixturing, all of the grading, everything like that for the junior footy. And then also was the liaison for clubs to help them grow their girls programs, really. Help them appoint coaches or make sure that their girls program has what it needs to have in comparison to the boys program, because obviously compared to the boys side of things at the YJFL, they've been around a lot longer than the girls team have. So that was been really, really great. I didn't want to step away from it, but it was a 4-day-a-week sort of office job that then required me to go out to games on a Sunday, and I just couldn't commit the way that I wanted to be able to. So had to sort of, give up that job in about August. But since then, it's sort of been able to open more opportunities in the media space, because the more you sort of say yes to things, the more things seem to happen. And there was a lot of things going on during business hours that I unfortunately couldn't continue to do both. So yeah, for a good 8 months of the year, I've been working 7 days a week, multiple jobs most days as well.
Wow.
I still feel though I have a better balance than I ever did as an athlete and sort of someone that was trying to work. So I don't know if you guys are now in the position where you're able to work less or part-time, but even so, even when you're working part-time and you're training, it's really, really hard. And when I was playing for my sort of 7 years, I was basically working full-time as a teacher the entire time, because unfortunately the wage hadn't quite got to the point where you could give up hours of work as much as you wanted to, and you wanted to be a better athlete, you couldn't. So I think the ability to sort of now just work, I feel way less tired. I feel way less emotionally drained. It's way less of a mental roller coaster when you can control things more so than you can at football. And that's ended up being the reason I walked away from AFLW, because mentally I just couldn't do it anymore. I think physically I probably, like, I still play a bit of footy. If I wanted to be sort of at the point, I'd like to say I could. I don't know if the game was a bit past me by the end anyway, but mentally it was really draining. I got really burnt out, really sort of had bouts of really bad depression because of just the weekly cycle of things. And you girls would know it best. Like, you know how you get yourself up for a game day, and there's stuff that goes on sort of with hormones where you get your adrenaline rush, you're peaking for 2, sometimes 3 days before the game. So by the time you sort of wake up the next day, no matter how early or late you've played, you just get this huge dump. Like you just wake up. Not only are you physically the sorest you've probably ever been, you're mentally the lowest you've ever been. And if people sort of can't really relate to that feeling, it's when you've gone out and had either a really big night or you've gone out and done things, and you wake up the next day and you just feel really low and your mood is just so low. I found that so hard to cope with towards the end of my career that I just didn't think sort of the highs. And my partner said this to me when I was thinking of retiring. She said, the highs that I see you experience don't equate to the lows that I'm seeing you experience. And I think the minute she said that, I was like, nah, I think absolutely. If you're saying that, you're the person that's closest to me. I think the right decision here is to sort of step away and focus on other things. And it's been a really good decision, I think, because I feel a lot better in myself. I enjoy football a lot more than I did when I was playing. And now I'm able to go and play sort of local football and just absolutely love it. Not be under the scrutiny of that'll come up in review, or
the Monday review.
See that, or team selection. God, I'm not going to eat all day because I'm scared I won't get selected, because that could make or break my career at the moment. So don't get me wrong, lots of highs in footy. Absolutely loved my journey, but I think I stepped away at the right time.
Can I jump in quickly? Sorry, thank you for sharing that with us, and obviously we can relate so much to it. And the league has, or each club has had massive inroads to then supporting that psychological state, I think. But is that something that quite instantly from making that decision and stepping away, you felt that relief, or did you still kind of have a bit of a battle period going, have I really made the right decision here?
I think there was sort of, with my career, I sort of read the writing on the wall. I was going to be delisted. I didn't think I'd probably get picked up other places either, because I'd sort of been delisted by the Saints the year before. I found it very hard to get back on another list, and Hawthorn sort of picked me up quite late. So I think I in that element, I kind of knew that the writing was on the wall, but I also sort of December time, I was like, look, I'm probably going to get delisted. I think I'm still good enough for this. I'm going to play VFL. I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to get picked up again. And then over the Christmas period and enjoying time with my family and sort of really reflecting on things and knowing that, that probably that conversation was around the corner. I was just like, sort of did some more deeper reflection and had those honest conversations with my partner, with my family. And I was like, nah, I think this is the right thing to do. So I think instantly, you're right, like that. I did feel really instant relief. I wasn't worried about what I was doing when I wasn't going for a run. I wasn't worried about the things that I'd eat in the off season. I wasn't worried about the shape that I'd come back in. I wasn't worried about how many weeks till pre-season
Yeah.
and all of
Yeah.
that. So I think that was a definite sort of instant relief. And I think overall my mental health has just been far more stable than it was. Don't get me wrong, there's still lots of stress in life and all of that, but I feel like I'm far more equipped to manage it considering the experiences I've had with football.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Amazing.
Yep.
You mentioned that you're talking AFLW with Abby Holmes, I think is a great sort of step in the AFLW space and sort of like real analysis around the game and, you know, like probably the last few years that it's sort of just been about stories and like how we've sort of come about. But I just love how it's, you know, going down that path. And where do you think sort of the AFLW competition is heading? And, where do you see the next few years and what it can be?
Yeah, I think first of all on the show, that's what I really wanted it to be. So I wanted it to be less fluff, less, wow, how good is it that the girls are playing football? Because we're 9 years in and we deserve to be playing football. And that's why we're playing football. And I wanted it to be sort of, that genuine football analysis, giving people the praise that they deserve for a chase down tackle that not many people would have noticed, or goal square to goal square running from your wingers and things like that, or set up at stoppage where we've got the best player in the league left completely alone, and why are we doing that in season 9? And I think for me it was more a little bit of scrutiny around how good some of our coaches are in the league and how much some of the coaches still have to develop. And I think that's the thing that I've been really trying to highlight is tactically how good players have been and teams have been compared to others, and where the game can be won and lost in women's footy. And with regards to where the game can go, it can go absolutely anywhere. But I think the thing that's stopping it at the moment is just a really clear picture of where we're headed. I think every year, you guys would know, every year you sort of have this feeling in the back of your mind, like, are we going to be playing at this time of year next year?
Yeah.
How many rounds will we have? Will we be playing 4 games in 10 days again? Or will we have 11 weeks to do it in this year? And I would just really love for there to be a really clear vision on where we're headed. And I know that the AFL is reluctant to lock into that because of, if you make a plan, you need to make it happen. And I get that. I understand the financial strain around that. I understand that financially we're not making as much money as people think that we could be. But I think there needs to be, for the player, for the club, for everyone involved in the game, we need to get a clear picture of, okay, so in 5 years, we will be in a 17-round competition. It will start at this time. It will end at this time. And the stepping stones for us to get there will be this. And I think that would just take away so much of the commentary around women's footy, because you sort of see it and there's just this apprehension or misunderstanding around where it's headed, because no one really knows. Like, for all we know, we're playing the same time next year. For all we know, there's going to be 12 games in 10 weeks next year because this worked, or whatever it is. So I would just love for there to be a really, really clear vision mapped out for everyone involved in the game and for everyone that's outside of the game, so that we can grow towards that and we can put things in place to help achieve that.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
Yeah, you've touched on that so well, and obviously said understanding, like in such a respectful manner of understanding with that financial strain, which is often what we do get, you know, thrown back at us. But within that, there is so many challenges. I wonder, when you look at, you know, the pathway that you've taken, what sort of initial challenges were you faced with coming into a male dominant space, or were there real pioneers before you that supported you through maybe those roadblocks that you could see coming up?
Yeah, I feel like I've been always sort of in a really unique position. First of all, being one of the first women to play AFLW. So there was no one before me to sort of look to. There was no one really in the media side of things doing special comments. Daisy sort of was doing it the last couple of years. I started, I think, 7 years ago for Triple M in Brisbane. And I think up in Brisbane, I didn't really notice it because the radio boxes in Brisbane are completely, you're just isolated. It's just you guys. It's the 4 guys you're calling with, or 3 guys and the producer and everything. So you have no idea who else is there from other radio stations. And then when I moved down to Melbourne, the G and Marvel, it's just all glass paneling. So you can see all the way along. You can see every other radio box. You can see all of the sort of media from the clubs that sit up the back as well in the media centre. And you can often see the broadcast as well. So it wasn't till I moved to Melbourne that I looked sort of left and right. And I think it was my first game, and I think I was calling with Brian Taylor, James Brayshaw, and Daisy Thomas. And I sort of got in there and I was like, first of all, I have the biggest amount of imposter syndrome I've ever felt before, because these aren't just like old mate from down the street that's calling footy. Like, this is Brian Taylor and James Brayshaw, someone that I've listened to call football for a long, long time, and Daisy Thomas, who's a great of the game. And sort of was just like, what on earth am I going to provide here that's going to be any better than what these blokes can do? And then I sort of looked to the left and there was no other women in any other radio box. There was not a single woman in the media centre. A couple from clubs and things, which I think is fantastic. And there's been a big growth with clubs and what we've seen in that space as well. But it was just me. And I was just like, wow, like, what am I doing here? This is really, really overwhelming. But I've never been made to feel like that with anyone I've ever worked with. They've only been ever so supportive of me. They've been so helpful. Daisy's like my best sort of support in the media. He could not be more of an advocate for me.
Wow.
And that's just not because I'm a woman. He does that because he thinks I'm really good at what I do. And he often got the sort of backhanded compliments like, you're one of the best specials in football for a woman. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, thanks. I don't know if you know that that's not actually a compliment. That's not actually a compliment. Like, yes, thank you. But there's also who else is doing it? But the other thing is like, nah, I'm actually here because I'm probably good enough to be here.
Absolutely.
And then the other one is sort of like, I've always had this philosophy that's like, if I get the job because I'm a woman, well, I'm just going to take it. And by the end of doing that job, you're going to say, wow, we're glad we gave her the opportunity, but looking back, we gave it to her because she was a female, but now she's actually the best person we could have got for that job. So I make sure I'm always really well prepared. I go in, I go confident, and you know, like if I got there because of my gender, I'm going to leave there and it's going to be because I'm the best for the job.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Kate, I absolutely love listening to you, whether it's on Triple M or Channel 7 or on your podcasts as well. But even listening to you today, I love it. And I could sit here and talk to you for about 200 hours, but you obviously don't have that time in your schedule. But do you want to talk to us a little bit about how you actually ended up getting into media and your pathway to that? Because you played at the 3 clubs as an AFLW player, but how did you transition into media? And I think it's an exciting space for not only like AFLW to grow as a competition, but in media as well. And so, do you want to give listeners an idea of how you got into it and your pathway?
Yeah, for sure. So I think to start with at the Lions, I just always had a bit of a knack for just being sort of able to talk underwater, really, if we're being honest, as you can see already. I always really liked sort of performing or being sort of a public speaker, and always found it really natural at school. And that was probably the first time like people would get very nervous for presentations you'd do at school. I was sort of the vice captain at school, so made a lot of sort of speeches and things like that. Never did drama or anything like that. I kind of regret not doing it now because I think I would have really enjoyed it. But just was always sort of, the life of the party, so to speak, in a way that was could hold an audience attention and felt comfortable doing it, which I think is the most important part. So when I got to the club, I sort of was really good friends with one of the media girls, just became friends with them really quickly. And they did this segment called Locker Talk at the Lions. And it was where a player would go around and just interview teammates, talk about random topics to give fans an insight into what we're like away from football. And they did that with the boys and then started doing it with the girls. And when I got there, I sort of said to Courtney, my friend there, hey, can I host for the women's side of things? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. We'd love that. So it was myself and a few others. And they really were part of the vehicle for me to get into it because they used me so much there. I just started to grow in that role. And a friend of mine was on the broadcast at Triple M at the time, and he was commentating. And Daniel Merritt, who was one of our assistant coaches, was the boundary rider the year before for Triple M footy in Brisbane. And he'd gone back to be the runner for the Lions for the men's team. So he couldn't do it anymore. And Sam Hargrave said, look, we think you'd be really good for it. Can I put your name forward? And I was like, yeah, I'd absolutely love that. So that's literally how it all started.
Wow.
Started on the boundary, was there for a season. Wasn't great at the boundary because that's really a more reporter side of things. Like you're really reporting. You've got to make it interesting. It's about injuries. It's about things. And I can talk about an injury, but I'm more that sort of football analyst where I can see what's happening in the game and want to talk about that. So I spent sort of a season down there, and they thought that the growth was in sort of the commentary box. So I got asked to go back up into expert comments the next season, and it really all flowed from there. And then the offer to move down to St Kilda was the big part of that, was to try and help me grow my media career, be in a Melbourne club, be around more footy. And they were great in supporting me do that as well. I had a job at the club as part of that contract, and unfortunately, that first season was when COVID hit. So actually, like everyone in AFL lost their job through that, and that kind of really took that away. And I thought that might have put the brakes on a little bit, but I was lucky that I'd sort of built a good rapport and relationship with a lot of people and maintained the job at Triple M, and it kind of all stemmed from there. But without football and football clubs, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. That's for sure. Definitely without the Lions, and definitely without St Kilda as well.
Amazing.
So amazing.
Amazing story.
Oh, I feel like I could just sit here for hours
I
and hours
know.
and just pick your brain of all these things.
You'd be bored after a while.
Oh, no.
No.
We'll throw in a little bit of a game here just to get things going. It's just a this or that game. So I'm going to say something and something, and you got to pick which one. So podcast or radio?
Oh, both. I've got a face for both, so either way.
Love it.
We started filming things down. I'm like, this was on radio. Can we not?
What's a video podcast called again?
Vodcast.
Vodcast. Well, we're pretty much vodcasting now, so.
Yeah. Don't watch, just listen.
Now, we've done a little bit of digging on the Instagram, and we can see either a sausage dog or greyhound.
Oh, that's impossible. I've got 3 dogs. So I've got 2 sausage dogs and a greyhound. So I guess the sausage dogs win out by majority.
What are their names, Kay?
They're Nacho, Norman, and Noah.
Oh my
so
God,
Noah's the
cute.
greyhound.
Nacho
and Norman are the sausage dogs. But if you'd like a quiet house, go the greyhound. If you'd like a cuddly house with psychos, but they give you back love as much as they give you in frustration, choose a sausage dog.
So I love it.
Sounds like my boyfriend.
Which one?
Are you a tea or coffee drinker?
Coffee.
Coffee?
Definitely coffee.
Nice. Live or pre-recorded?
Live. I think live.
Nice.
I definitely do better when I don't know what the questions are or when I have to think on my feet. So definitely live.
Nice.
Love it. And then Daisy Thomas or Isaac Smith?
Daisy Thomas.
After the conversations
Yeah,
earlier,
I'm
I
gonna
would have
say
been a bit
Daisy.
thrown if you said Smith.
Isaac won't listen to this because he only listens to things he's on. So.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And then last one, Geelong or Hawks this weekend? Or this Thursday?
Geelong.
Yes.
Woo.
Great
Love
shout.
that.
Love that.
Oh, great shout.
Awesome.
We're nearly at the end. As we've said, we don't want to take too much of your time, but
You're fine,
obviously we're pretty, early on. This is our second season of this pod. It's obviously been going for a couple more years, but for anyone getting into podcasting or looking to enter the media, a piece of advice, what could you give us?
Yeah, give us some advice.
I would say, I think, first of all, like I said before, make sure if it's something that you love to do, make sure you're comfortable doing it. If it's something that's really natural to you, if it's something that really makes you feel great when you do it, absolutely go into it. If it's something you're not sure about, it's actually, even though it looks really easy, it's not that easy. So if it's not that you couldn't do it because you're uncomfortable, but just, know that it's actually not as easy as it looks at times. But make sure you're talking about topics that you're passionate about, because that's the easiest thing to sort of make sure that you're invested into, because at the end of the day, if it's something that you're doing that you're passionate about, what you do when you work won't feel like work. So when I rock up and do special comments for any sport, anywhere, AFL, AFLW, I just feel like I'm like the luckiest person, because I get to sit in the best seat in the house, watch football and talk about it. Because ultimately, when I was working as a teacher, I was still working as a commentator, and I never felt like I was working when I was going to football. I always felt like I was working when I was going to school and teaching. But commentary has never felt like a job. It's just felt like a privilege and something that I've absolutely loved to do.
So
That's
good.
amazing. Well, we, again, thoroughly enjoy seeing your face on TV, listening to your voice on radio. And but what's next for your career, Kate Mac?
Yeah.
Where do you want to see yourself?
What's the dreams?
Hopefully sort of the next couple of years on sort of a bit more of men's coverage for Seven. hopefully that's sort of where I'm headed. I'm not sure how soon. I don't really want to put a window on time for that, but that would be the ultimate goal, to get onto some men's footy. But in that, not losing how much I sort of love doing women's footy, because not that I'm the best in the business, but we need the best of the best doing the AFLW as well. I don't ever want to be someone that's too busy doing men's football that I can't do women's football, because that's really my priority, is helping the game grow and helping while we're in this phase of being really unsure of where we're headed, that we have the best sort of product from players, from broadcast, from everything. So continue to do a lot of that. And I'd really like to get into a little bit more cricket side of things, so that the summer is also full. I grew up playing cricket. Cricket was my first sport. So I'd really like to get in a little bit of that. So I'm doing a little bit of commentary for that in the summer coming up. And hopefully that continues to grow. But much of the same, hopefully just keep maintaining what's going on this year and the momentum that I've built. But yeah, continuing to stay a big force in AFLW as well.
Fantastic.
That's unreal. And even just chatting with you today, like hearing the advice you've given, you are just really, you're doing exactly what you're saying. And even in this, I haven't personally met you before, but I feel like just how you so naturally and humbly speak with confidence in knowing your ability is really inspiring stuff. So thank you so much.
Yeah. And
thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on, Kate. We know you've got a huge schedule, jam-packed constantly, and, you know, you're working 7 days a week and more. So we really, really appreciate having you on our show, and we've loved it, and probably been my favourite guest so far. So thank you so much.
Thank you, girls, and good luck against the Hawks. And hopefully one day soon I'm calling a Geelong grand final victory.
Ooh, that'd be lovely. Ooh, I love it.
That's what's next.
Keep building. You're going really, really well.
Thanks,
Great.
Kate.
Thanks, Kate. Well, that was an amazing chat from Kate Mack there. And as we said 100 times, could have just listened to her for hours and hours.
I do think we said that about 4 times.
I know. I was just like looking at her like this, and I was like,
it was like that time when we had Daisy on. I reckon I was staring the exact same way.
Yeah. It's amazing when we can get really interesting and influential people on. So we loved that. But let's head into our game preview for tomorrow night. We've got a huge condensed period now. We've obviously got the game against the Hawks tomorrow night at 7:15 at GMHBA Stadium. And then on the Tuesday, we're playing Fremantle back at home again on the Tuesday night at 7:15 as well. So couple games that you can get to here at the home stadium, and obviously school holidays as well. So bring the kids, bring the family, and come down and get along.
I know, and everyone's got the day off. I think everyone has the day off on a Friday this week. So really no excuses. Come down.
You can afford a later night.
Absolutely, even if it's for a beer on the footy, or if you're a Pepsi Max girl like myself, come down and watch us take on Hawthorn. I'm super excited to be back home. Something about playing at home feels like really a real game. Game feeling.
Absolutely.
It's pre-game. You rock up, you get in your car, you come through the 4 walls, and you sort of like got that buzz and vibe about you. Put your bag down and you're getting ready, and your head's in the zone. You know what I mean?
And it's the stadium and the crowd and that feeling that that brings us so much joy and excitement to play, and really gets our head in the zone. So please, Cats fans, come on down and support us, because we really enjoy having you all there.
Absolutely. And then you won't hear from us until, because we do have this condensed period, it will actually be, we've touched on those 2 games, it'll be after both of those. So our next pod will be a big one as we recap both those games before we fly out to Sydney. But it will be, you'll be jam-packed the next time that you hear from us. 2 really good teams that we're coming up against that are in good form at the moment. And I think that's great for us. We play really good brands of footy against really good sides. So it doesn't mean that we just expect that going into it, but I do know that that is a quite a common theme for us. And so it's nice to come up against 2 really strong sides, as you've said, at home, where we know that we'll have a great crowd presence that really get behind us, and hopefully we flow on. They are close together, but then that allows you to be playing more footy, which is obviously what we all want.
The best part.
It's so good. And I feel like thinking of Hawthorn, they're you know, they're sort of similar in terms of the men, in terms of this hock ball thing that they've got going on. They like to be quite fast through the corridor, run and carry off the half back and that sort of vibe. So I feel like for us, if we can sort of control the tempo and have the ball in our hand for longer, that will go a long way in terms of how we want to play the game and the process and that sort of thing. So excited to play them tomorrow night. And then
Freo had a great win against Melbourne. I watched the last 9 minutes of that. And they won sort of just on the siren. And they're a really great team as well. Have been quite good for a long time, and I think they've got some really strong players as well. But I feel like we can definitely match up to them. And if we bring our brand of footy again, it'll be another really good game as well.
No, a great, exciting weekend for football in Geelong. You've obviously got us Thursday night. I think the GFL Grand Final is here as well at GMHBA on Friday night. And then roll around to Tuesday again for us. So get down. Tickets are available now. Memberships, as always, are on sale. So come support us, girls, and get your weekend of football started with us. Thanks for joining us, guys.